Welcome back to the lab. I know it's been very quiet. I have been busy doing stuff and things. I've been mass producing some top secret, but not top. I've been making some things for someone. That's all done. It's Friday afternoon. There really isn't a lot of point cracking on with the Blue Z right now because I am going to have a weekend to myself. I'm probably going to work on the March. I was going to say weekend to myself, maybe not. There is something that needs fixing on the March that has been broken for a long time, and I've hummed and hawed. I've turned it around, as you can see. We're looking at the back of the car. We're going to fix it. Many moons ago, like just before the last lead foot that happened, 2.5 years ago, I guess it is now, some idiot was on the skid pad at Hampton Downs, Glenn the idiot, trying to do helis. The centre of the front diff had destroyed itself. I wasn't aware of that. There's a video on that. And it didn't do helis like it normally does helis. And I screwed up and banged the car into the wall on the skid pan. Hit that corner pretty hard to the point where that wheel was in the air. And hit the front corner. The front end was okay. I damaged the splitter a little bit, and then we ruined that a bit more when we were putting it on the trailer. But this corner here, the wheel was smashed. The shock tore the clevis off, I guess, clevis. The bits that hold the knuckle onto the shock. Ripped those off, broke the lower arm, smashed in this guard. This is the original guard. You see the imperfections on that. This is why these are made from aluminium, you see, rather than carbon fibre. So I can fix them when I ruin them. And I squished in this guard. At the time I had 2 weeks before lead foot to get it sorted out. Got that done. It was all good. What I didn't notice was I had actually bent the knuckle as well. Knuckle slash hub carrier slash this dooflicky here. That bit there bent upwards. Not heaps, just enough that I can see it on the car now when I've got a bit more time to look at it carefully. So, see our mates at Nissan King, and we've got ourselves another one. That cast iron, I'm not sure if my scales will weigh that. Let's give it a go though. They're very heavy. I do want to, yeah, you can see muscles working there. I can pick that up one hand at full extension, but yeah. I want to make some new ones out of aluminium, but every time I think about doing that, then I start thinking I'm going to do double wishbone conversion on the suspension. It never happens because that's too hard. So I'm going to take the old one off, and we'll cut this bit here off. We don't need that anymore. The lock stop. We'll put the new one on. It'll be nice and straight. We might tidy it up before we do that. Then we might be able to use the old one as a template to make some new ones out of something. Make them lighter. Look at that, see? Bent. Told you. Old one, new one. Probably a bit hard to see. That's more or less parallel with the bench. Yeah, close enough. And that's not. It was quite a big impact. So you don't try and straighten this sort of thing. Cast iron stuff, cast steel, whatever it is. Do not try and heat it, straighten it, weld it, mess around with it unless you really know what you're doing. That was way less than $100. It's not worth any time trying to fix this. Just go straight into, in theory, straight into the scrap metal bin. But like I say, probably going to keep hold of it and maybe use it to try and make something that's lighter. Speaking of lighter, forgot to put the scales over here, didn't I? Assuming that hasn't maxed out the scales and telling lies, that is pretty heavy. I guess probably hasn't maxed them out. I thought these were 5. Maybe they go to 10. So there you go. That's the one that was on there. 5,385. Here's one with the doofer still on it. How much are we saving? Oh, I don't want to smash the scales. Nearly 300 grams. That's actually quite reasonable for just a little chunk of... Yep, there we go. Let's put it back together. I'll cut this off, put it back together. There we go. Angle grinder's smoking hot. A bit disappointed. I zeroed it with the old one on there. so that whatever number we've got here is the difference. It's 50 grams heavier. Come on. I took 60 grams off it the other day on something, and now we're putting it back with that. That's the way it goes, isn't it? Never mind. Although 50 grams is not a heck of a lot. I can probably take this out of here. There's another one on the other side. Yeah, I can probably stick the angle grinder in there and buzz that off there. Buzz that off there. There's actually a lot more we could take off this. Along here. Things that aren't doing anything. You wouldn't take any material away from here because that's strength. This stuff here is probably not doing a lot, but I'm not going to fiddle with it. 50 grams, do we muck around with it? 49 grams now. Of course we do. Let's make it lighter. That definitely doesn't want to lose weight quickly. So I was just stuffing around. We're 5 grams lighter. That'll do. It's taken too long. That's clearly a heavier casting than that. It doesn't take much to add quite a bit of weight when you're dealing with steel. Zero that. Something as simple as that. A relatively small piece of steel. There's nearly 30 grams, just like that. So we're 5 grams lighter, so we're like a piece of steel. It's this big. So whatever, I will put that back on the car, the new one on me, and we can take some weight out of this brake caliper adapt. We can clean it up at least. Take a little bit of weight out of that in a couple of places if we want to fluff around with it. Through the middle here where it doesn't need as much strength. But there's not really a lot else to do on this corner. Check the wheel bearing's good. Quite tight, but better than being loose. And just general cleanup, put it all back together. Just like that. All sorted, done. Little wheel alignment on it. Pretty rough sort of wheel alignment. I just use the bar that I've got here. Nice straight bar. I know the side skirts are parallel from one side to the other. I built those and I've measured them afterwards. And basically, sorry about the camera work. Put my knee in the middle there so the load is evenly spread out. One side of the tyre, the other side of the tyre. And I have to push the camera too far over. It's going to hit the car. And I can line that up against... Why can't we see that through the camera? There we go. I can line that up against the side skirt and see just a rough idea of whether it's toe in or toe out. I give it a tiny little bit toe in on the back just for stability. As far as camber, so that's toe in, toe out sort of. As far as camber goes, I use just either that or the level. The level's good for course, and just an app on the phone with a inclinometer is the word. For some reason I was trying to think of angle words, but no, it's inclinometer, digital inclinometer, and set the camber correctly. So I've got 2.2 degrees on them at the moment on the back. Previously this car's basically run 0. I haven't had any camber on the back at all because I haven't really been trying to go as quick as it can possibly go. So there's quite a lot more camber on the front now. I think it's something like 4 degrees, 3.5, 4 degrees, 2.2 on the back. The new knuckle, the new hub carrier, the new upright, or there'll be another word for that. We could start using foreign languages. That bend there resulted in a change of the length of the tie rod. It's only half a turn, right? So no big deal, put the wheel back exactly where it is. The thing that changing that will improve is basically bump steer. So when the back of the car goes down from a bump, a whole lot, or it squats under acceleration, which you'll see in the videos, it definitely does because it really hauls ass. If you've got that pivot point in a different location on one side compared to the other, then one side's going to steer in a different amount than the other side. There is a tiny little bit of bump steer on the back of this car, it's not heaps. Now the difference between the two of them wasn't significant. To show you what I did there, it's a bit hard to see the marks, but I put the old one, it's a real simple way of measuring it, right? So I put the old one on the bench and I made some dots with the Vivid. Some of them have gone away now because I've cleaned the bench. And I stuck my ruler on here like this, and then I put a mark at the top of it. There's the mark on the bench. And I took that away and I put the new one in the exact same spot like that, and did the same mark. And you can see the difference between the two. It's that pivot point, assuming it was somewhere in the middle of it. Look at that, we're 7, whatever that is, 7.5, nearly 8 millimeters, depends on the accuracy of that, right? Shifted that pivot point by a fairly significant amount. That will make a difference to how the car handles. Whether my driving's good enough that it makes a difference in lap times or not, who knows. Shonky camera work again. You might recognize that. Actually, it goes up that way. If you didn't watch the shonky little 35-second video, the shorts one, which YouTube kept recommending, I thought I'd give it a go, and apparently you guys didn't like it because hardly anyone watched it. If you didn't watch that, you won't know that we've ditched this. This used to live in the car. It's now scrap metal. Oh look, I was going to scratch it. Don't normally have the car in here parked this way. So that piece has been replaced by a piece of genuine carbon fibre, which saved a tiny little itsy bitsy amount of weight. That was next to nothing. And all those buttons have moved down there onto the switch panel. I've moved those because that other panel could only be attached by 2 screws at the very bottom. And when you pushed on those buttons there, those red buttons, that panel tried to fall away, tried to move like that. So it just was not very good. There's a tiny little bit less wiring involved there, and it's lower down, and it's not towards the middle of the car. So there's not really any major gains there, but it's just the buttons won't fall away from you when you're trying to push them, and it just looks a tiny little bit nicer in there. I can put some stickers on there, I guess, some sponsors or some such thing. So that was done. And the other thing I've done is I've chopped some holes in the front of the car. More holes. So we need more air, basically. The radiator is actually too small for the car for what it's doing now, and it will develop a little bit of heat over a period of time. So more air through here, more cooling. We've talked about that sort of thing before. I posted on Facebook, not happy with those two. A little bit nostril-like. I don't think they'll stay there. They're probably going to get, something will happen with that. I'll change it. Whatever. I'm not sure entirely what I'll do just yet. The whole brand spanking new OEM genuine Nissan bumper assembly is like $200. So we can chop this one up, change it, fiddle around with it, figure it out, and then we'll replace it with a new one at some point in time. This one's busted all its clips away anyway. Just with things that have been going on, there's supposed to be some clips here that are gone. Same on the other side. The tow hooks connected with the bumper at some point in time through whatever reason, and something's pushed at the back side of that and made a dent there, right? So we can't really use this one as a mold to make that whole thing all one piece out of carbon fibre, which is the ultimate goal once I've got it sussed and I'm happy with it. So not really concerned about this not being feng shui or whatever. I'll see, I might, someone suggested basically chopping out, leaving sort of a 10mm border around it, chop out that funny shape there. May or may not do that, already had that in mind ages and ages and ages ago anyway. So, and also the vent on top of the bonnet, as you can see I haven't bothered with any paint on that at this point in time. That edge there used to live back here. So it's been chopped, taken apart, moved, get more air out. So we've, in theory, we've got more air coming in, more air coming out. That should ensure that we've got the maximum amount of cooling that we can get from our, I can show you that, can't I? Let's see if the bonnet, oh, yeah, there we go. Put this on the floor over here, throw it on the floor. We'll get the maximum amount of cooling through our little radiator, which is really too small for the amount of horsepower that we've got now. It is basically too small. Can't get enough airflow through that in this car. at least to keep the engine properly cool. It's not a particularly big core. I think it's twin core. It probably needs a triple core. And we could change the layout. Instead of having vertical fins, if we went cross flow, we'd make much more use of the space that we have in the front of the car, make things more betterer. So that's that. Right, that's enough for a Friday. Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.